Welcome to No Clip, the podcast that's like a book club for people who don't think that books reward them enough for being good at them. I'm Chad Rose.
And I'm Andy Kinnett.
And today, we're going to be talking about Super Mario Bros. Wonder, a game that was developed by Nintendo EPD, published by Nintendo, and was released in 2023 on the Nintendo Switch.
But first, if you give us a like or a rating, it would be greatly appreciated.
Super Mario Bros. Wonder is a 2D platforming game, yada yada yada. Everybody knows this already.
What is this, fucking Mario?
What is this, fucking Mario? I swear to God, one day we're going to have to put together like a glossary of terms for things that we make reference to. Like, that is a quote from my dad.
Put it on a t-shirt. We need to start saying it more so that we can make merch out of it.
That's true, yeah. So everybody, remember, when you leave this episode, just next time you're at your friend's house, be like, what is this, fucking Mario? And you'll know that came from us. And then that's how viral marketing works. I don't know. Clearly, I do not know how viral marketing works.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, the platformer that I just played. So this is the first 2D platformer, correct me if I'm wrong here, because it does get very confusing. I believe this is the first 2D Mario platformer since a member of the new Mario Luigi Super Deluxe U games.
If you don't count Mario Maker, then yes.
Right. Which Mario Maker is going to be a very complicated topic when it comes to like putting this game into ranking systems that everyone likes to do.
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing a tier list, do you include Mario Maker? I might. Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll do a tier list one day.
You do end up playing a lot of 2D Mario if you're playing Mario Maker.
That is true. Most of your time, most likely, will be spent playing 2D Mario. But yeah, and it's weird because this is also the same, like in the same era that we also returned to 2D Metroid. So with Metroid Dread sort of like in my distant kind of recent memory, my expectations for Wonder were actually kind of high going in. I felt like we were kind of in a moment now where I was like, maybe they're just going to pump out good shit for a while. Because I didn't really connect with the Wii U new Super Mario Brothers games.
Yeah, so I guess with 2D Mario, like I played Mario Brothers 3 and Super Mario Brothers a lot as a kid, but I never played Mario World, and then I really liked Super Mario 64, and I felt like I kind of like drifted away from 2D platformers and didn't play them for like a long time, and then kind of like came back to them more recently with like Rayman Legends and like Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze and stuff like that. So yeah, and then like as you said, like Metroid Dread's a good thing to call out. Stuff like Mario Maker, like I feel like there's been kind of like a return to 2D games from like AAA studios, because they've been like popular in the indie space, and it seems like Nintendo and other companies want to dip their toes back in. But yeah, so like my expectations were like kind of low. Like I also didn't like the new Super Mario Brothers games. I in fact find them to be incredibly boring looking for some reason. Something about them just looked really like phoned in to me always. I'm sure they're good because they're made by Nintendo. But yeah, they just never really interest me. But like Super Mario Brothers Wonder, though, I thought looked really fun and creative. And so like that did catch my eye, and maybe like I didn't have high expectations, but maybe they were like different than like what the final product ended up being like.
Yeah, that's fair. I think there's a lot of things like I only ever saw the initial release trailer for the game.
Me too.
And yeah, when I think about what that release trailer like said about the game, like what it was going to be or contain. Uh I think I was not expecting it to be as uh like I don't know like completely about those things as the game ended up being. Things like the wonder seeds and the new power-ups are present in like literally every level, which I'm a little bit surprised by. I mean, the power-ups less so. They're scattered the way that power-ups normally are, and so there are levels where you use things like the fire flower, which is tried and true. um but like the drill and the elephant and the bubble, which I think is the bubble new, is the bubble from something else? I feel like we've had something similar before.
I think the bubble is new.
Okay, I knew I was thinking of the cloud Mario that I think is in the second Galaxy game.
Mm-hmm.
uh but yeah, the new three power-ups, like there are a lot of levels that have them, but because of the way that Nintendo makes levels, um you like nothing is really required to have them, but the wonder seeds are very persistent, as well as just sort of like the whimsical nature of the whole thing. Like this game is very tonally, I'm not going to say it's tonally flat because it absolutely is not. That is the opposite of that. uh but tonally it's very consistent. It has like a set sort of like rhythm to every level, and with very little change up. Um, and honestly, that's I'm saying this in such a negative way. It really isn't. I just wasn't expecting it to be as all in on the like newer gimmicks as it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in the end, I feel like that it ended up being a good decision, more so than something that would be more varied, something that keeps throwing you into new things over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the specifically the wonder flowers reminded me a lot of Mario Maker 2 when they added in like the certain themes would have like weird effects where they would like turn off the gravity or like whatever.
Yeah,
Like
that is.
underground at nighttime does this weird thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it would be depending on like, yeah, time of day, day or night, what world or what like game you were in, and like everything else
Mm-hmm.
had like different things. It does have that kind of thing. I actually have a lot of comparisons I would like to make to Mario Maker that I have been sort of like trying to determine in my head how relevant they actually are. Like one of the things that I wanted to note about this game is that it definitely feels like Nintendo has sort of like, I don't want to say opened their minds, but like they, because that would be kind of like a drug reference, which this whole game sort of is. uh but they definitely are like open to taking ideas that came from the community as opposed to developing everything in house. Like you can see a lot of the influence that trends that appeared in Mario Maker games had on the level design in Wonder.
Mm-hmm.
And it's made things a lot more varied. There are a lot of things in this game that I really hope make it into Mario Maker 3, if that is a thing that comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and specifically badges, but we'll get back to those in a bit. But yeah, I think that the flowers, like the wonder seed parts, do a fantastic job of making each level have its own flavor to it. Um, and it's kind of like that is like right in the middle of my favorite thing in the game, and like the one really negative thing I can say about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I have a little bit of mixed feelings because I thought there were things that deserved more exploration, but at the same time, like that is what makes this game Super Mario Brothers Wonder and not New Super Mario Brothers or some other game.
Right. Yeah, yeah. It really felt like it felt really weird to me. Because like it feels almost like an amalgamation of like a bunch like the last several Mario games. Like it had like the like parts where you like turn into enemies, kind of like Mario Odyssey, and it had parts where like I don't know, like the world map and the structure of the game felt a lot like 3D World, and like there was a lot of stuff that feels like it came from Mario Maker. So
Mm-hmm.
in the end, I think it to me like the way it was the most different than what I expected was like I expected like based on the marketing for this game to be like more off the wall and weird, like constantly, where it felt more just like a Mario game to
Hmm.
me than like I kind of expected it to.
Yeah, because like the in most levels, like the Wonder Seed sections are not normally mandatory,
Hmm.
not usually super long, and but really do feel like they absolutely like define the level. It's really weird because like playing this game mostly is playing a Mario game,
Hmm.
uh, but then for 20% of every level, it's something completely different most of the time. Sometimes it's just playing Mario but with a twist, but like there were some of these that like I were I mean, I don't think any of the Wonder Seed things made me feel like this could be an entire game.
Hmm.
In the way that like I guess Captain Toad did to people at Nintendo. Um I'm not saying the Captain Toad game is bad. I haven't played it, but uh that it's just like maybe like the goo that could climb on the walls, you could probably build a game around that concept.
Hmm.
Uh, it would be Carrion, the game that we did for Halloween 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there are just a lot of these like weird ideas that just sit around for one level, um, and yeah, I don't know. I did think that it was. I thought it was the opposite. Basically, when I saw it, I thought that it was going to be way less than it
Mm.
was. Uh, but that being said, I think we kind of agree it falls sort of like
In the
they're
middle.
important parts, yeah, but
Hmm.
in reality they aren't like the whole levels. So
Yeah, yeah. Like I also don't mean it as like a bad thing, but like it does
mhm.
make it kind of hard to like wrap your mind around after having just played it, like how like what you think of it in comparison to like other Mario games.
Yeah, like this isn't a game that you could recreate a level from in Mario Maker
Right.
or like in a ROM hack. Like that's not like everything in the game is so unique to its level, like within the game's context, that it really is just like everything has a little standout moment, which is a way of designing. Like it's weird to put to for a Mario game to be this like spectacle first.
Hmm.
Uh, it's not something you normally see. Like, but I don't know. I think it worked. I do want to talk about in relation to those things because I think it's a pretty good like. Hey Andy, how do the mechanics of the game work? Oh, you like run and jump.
Mm.
Mario, guys, can you believe it? Uh, but even without making big changes to the actual like gameplay, which this is my favorite 2D Mario like move set, I think. Like you have the best thing from New Super Mario Brothers, which is the midair twirl,
Hmm.
uh, and also like like free wall kicks and all of the rest of the normal Mario stuff, crouching and spin jumping and doing all that stuff. I will
Yeah.
say I
No
died the
triple
first
jump
time.
though.
No trouble. You can equip a double jump.
Yeah.
It not in the turn. You can also equip one that lets you jump in midair, but there's like one. There's the timing
Right.
badge
Yeah.
that lets you jump twice,
Yeah. No,
but
I
no
think
triple jump.
was a good decision to not include it, but it was always weird to play a Mario game where you can't do it for
Yeah,
me.
I mean, after having not played New Super Mario Brothers, uh, you you could do it in that game. Uh, but that's like, but my only real exposure to that is like the first half of that game and the Mario Maker levels. So
Right.
I'm pretty unfamiliar with the triple jump.
Hmm.
So to drill down more onto uh the Wonder Seed parts of the levels,
Hmm.
I think there are a few of them that I think warranted more exploration. Like the famous thing that I always hear but have never heard a source for, uh, is that Nintendo sort of pioneered the idea of like show somebody something easy and then make it a little bit more complex until the level's over and then there's your level. Like start with an idea and then like teach it and then make it harder. And I feel like the Wonder Seeds sometimes get this, but rarely get like a full exploration. Like, uh, there's a few of them. The rolling rhinos. They have a name. I forget what they're the hop. Oh, it was the hop. Is they're hippos, the hoppopotamus or whatever. The
Uh-huh.
bouncy hippos
Yeah, yeah.
get like 3 levels or something where they get included in. But there were things uh, like the Goomba, be a Goomba,
Yeah.
gets a level and then it gets the worst special level in the game by a mile. Uh, it's like the things that they chose to do with it were just like not, to me, didn't really live up to the potential of the idea. Whereas then there are things like you're a tall Mario now. You're like real tall, and you can crouch to shrink back down, which got like 3, and I really feel like only had 2 things that it could do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, I guess I don't disagree, but I feel like that's kind of the point of it, though. Like, that they're supposed to be these, like, little bursts of, like, creativity that, like, just are here and then they're gone. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way. Yeah, like, they kind of drop you in to these Wonder Seed sections and don't really, like, teach you how they work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they do with a normal level. Um, but yeah, I think it's supposed to kind of have like a frantic like test of like reflexes almost, like just react to the weird thing.
That you don't know what it's gonna be when you
Yeah,
first jump in. Yeah,
it's supposed to
it
be a
has like
surprise.
like WarioWare energy.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't dislike it. I just think that there's some of I think if they reduced the number of them in total, because there were some that to me felt like kind of throwaway
Mm-hmm.
things and replaced them with just repeats of other ones, but in a more complex or just totally different sort of scenario. Which once again they do sometimes. Like I'm not saying this is completely absent. I just think that like maybe it could be tightened down a little bit. And this is me reaching for something to say I didn't like about the level design in this game because largely I thought it was all incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is impressive that there is a Wonder Seed section in each level. Like, because at first when I started, like, I didn't know if they
Mhm.
did, and you know, there was like a level where like I just missed it or whatever. So I was like, oh, just some levels have it and some levels don't. But yeah, you know, obviously, found out that they all do, and yeah, it just kind of it is very impressive that they. It's basically like every level is 2 levels, like 2 half levels put together, almost.
Yeah, I do want to know like first time playing through a level. So the game tracks essentially 3 statistics for every level: number of wonder seeds, the number of 10 coins, which there are 3 in every level. The
Mm-hmm.
wonder seeds can fluctuate, and then whether or not you hit the top of the flagpole. And I cared about them in about that order of importance. I said Wonder Seeds should be my number 1 thing. They're like a new gameplay experience, and are the game's like big collectible. And then the coins, I was like, coins are cool, but I'm not gonna fucking kill myself to get all of them. And then the flagpole, I was just like, whatever. I'm gonna try as hard as I normally do to get the top of the flagpole in a Mario level, which is I will try very hard, but if it looks inconvenient, I won't do it. Uh,
I don't
and
know if we've ever been this close in alignment to something like this, because that's exactly how I would say my experience is.
that makes sense, yeah. Uh, I was just there's a lot of levels. I gotta play through them all. I can't be going back and replaying because I missed a 10 coin.
Hmm.
That would be ridiculous. Foreshadowing. Um, but then, so I want to know is like when you're playing through the game for the first time, because I have my experience.
Hmm.
What is it like? How frequently would you say that you got the Wonder Seed section? Do you think that you hit like most of them most of the time? or did you find yourself missing several every once in a while?
I would say that I've probably got like 85% of them in the game, or maybe 90. It's hard to tell. I'm bad at mental math
That's
or
I mean that's like the
estimation.
range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say it's about that. Like early on in the game, yeah, like I missed a couple in like the first area and I was not going to go back. But after that, like yeah, I'd say most levels I got both the seeds or all three if there were three of them, you know.
Yeah. Okay. That was sort of my experience as well. I wasn't sure because I know that when it comes to like especially like Nintendo games, right? Like games like this where this is a release that I was excited to play. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to like bust out a bunch of content. It like that's just sort of how I play because when I was a child, that's how I played and it's transferred to me as an adult.
Mhm.
Um but I did find I most of the collectibles were reasonably easy to find and get.
Mhm.
Um and this game apparently I'll bust my foreshadowing nut right now. Uh, I was going to go back after I finished the special world and got to the last like what is called the final challenge or something. After I finished that, I was going to go back and get all of the wonder seeds because I assumed that that is how you unlocked the last badge in the game.
Mm.
Uh, and I did. I went back and I got all of the wonder seeds that I was missing, and then there were a couple levels that I had missed, so I finished those. And then it was like, and then I was like, okay, I don't have this. Maybe there are secret levels I'm missing, or there's something else. So I Googled it. This is where I finally was just like, how do I do this thing? What's the unlockable? Why can't I find it? And it was like you had to get all of them plus all of the coins plus touch the top of all of the flagpoles.
Uh.
And that's what I was like, I don't have the time or desire to do this. And so I ended up putting it down. And I'm a little sad about it. I wish that it was a little bit more attainable, but the thing that really bums me out is that the last level is behind that. And
Yeah.
like I played 3D World up to the crazy final level and didn't let and I should have known basically that it was going to be do everything because I think you kind of had to do everything in that game. Uh but yeah, I was a little sad that I didn't get to like actually finish the game.
Mm. Yeah, I did like I got 8 of the wonder seeds in the special world and did like the musical piranha plant level and then flew up to the second level and it was like you need 16. I was like, well, I'm done with this game. uh
Fair enough, yeah.
yeah, like I don't like I did all the entrances that I found to the special world. I did all of those levels except in Fluff Puff Peaks. It had the one where you had to like time the jumps from the disappearing platforms. And that was like the first special world level I found, and I was like, "Oh God!" Like I found that level super hard. I don't know if that's just like a personal thing, but that was like the hardest one I found. It was the first one, so it put me off of engaging with the special world until the very end. But yeah, I did not put forth as much effort to get to the end game.
Okay, I mean that's fair. That one I think was I'm like very tilted
Mm-hmm.
about one of the levels, so I'm not going to be perfectly unbiased, but I think potentially that one is the hardest one and is the second. I found the first one, the first world, the one the second one, the one that is literally just an entrance in the pedal aisles.
Right.
And then the I think the sixth one, the one in Magma Land,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
are the
And then
ones that I
yeah, the
found
one in
naturally.
the desert is just at the top of the pyramid.
Right.
That one was pretty easy to find too.
Well, you had to get a secret exit that I didn't know about.
Uh,
Yeah, I missed a secret exit in that one, and didn't find it until after I beat the game. But yeah, so my first time through, I had done 4 of the levels, and definitely it was the hardest of those 4.
mm-hmm.
But I have I think that the Goomba level deserves a special place in hell, just for being so fucking slow.
Oh yeah.
That it made me want to pull my hair out. Like, because it's
At least they give you a badge that lets you dash faster.
oh god, I love that badge. So I don't think it works on the Goomba.
I think it does. I equipped
I
it
didn't try
and
it.
maybe it was a placebo effect, but I'm pretty sure it made you go faster.
I had like I went through like a series of like badge decisions. We should, but you know what? We'll talk about that in a second when we talk about badges, because it is a big topic that I want to get into.
Right.
But yeah, the for me it was just like the Goomba level was too. It was the difficulty came from it being awkward, and when I died in it and had to do the level again where the Goomba slowly waddles around, I was just like, I just want this to be over. The level's not super hard, but it caused me to rush because I was frustrated with it.
Yeah. I didn't think that one was that bad personally, but it
Oh,
definitely
no.
it feels tailor made to annoy you.
Yeah, I guarantee you, like 100% of all people who have played the game will not think that that was a hard one, and it's just me being annoyed by it. But yeah, I do remember the the disappearing platform one to be really difficult because I took a clip of it. I don't want to make posting a side clip a thing that we do every
I mean,
episode.
we have a YouTube channel, so why not?
That's true. YouTube.com/a bunch of numbers. Somebody else beat us to the punch on that URL. But where I had made it all the way to the end, and then on the last jump, I just like hit a wall and fell straight down. And I was like, great, good job. Because that one took me a few tries as well.
I had a hard time getting past like the first 3 jumps. For some reason, I don't know why.
Yeah. So you did not do? Did you do the middle?
Yeah, the piranha plant one.
Yeah.
That was the last thing I did.
Gotcha. I thought that the piranha plant one was harder than the last, like the final.
Oh, really? See, I thought that level was actually pretty easy.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It wasn't too bad. It was less bad than the jumping between walls or the Goomba one. Was for me.
I got to it and thought it had been easier than all the levels I did to get to it.
Well, the final challenge is even easier than that.
Oh.
So yeah, it was not too bad. The very first part of it is kind of tough. But then like it's kind of a cakewalk from that point on. Like I think I died mostly in that level just trying to get 10 coins. So yeah, it was a weird time, I would say. Yeah, that was it. That was basically my thing. Was I was disappointed that there would be too much of a time investment for me to actually get to like the final challenge level, that I wasn't able to play it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think Nintendo, like, that's been their like style for the past like decade or so now, where like most of the game will be like pretty easy, and then it'll have some hard stuff at the end, sometimes hidden behind stupid requirements like that.
Right.
I think like reevaluating that approach would be a good idea, because I mean like, they had like the Yoshis and Nabbit in this game are basically like easy mode for people, for like younger kids or whoever just wants to get through the game. So like I think they could afford to like rearrange some of the or like redisperse some of the challenge of the content, or like for like a more even like difficulty curve.
Yeah, this game was overall, I'm thinking about it, I think this is the easiest Mario game.
It might be,
like in terms of just like especially in a 2D
it's
platforming
harder
context.
than 3D Land.
It is probably harder than 3D Land, but 3D Land's extra hard last level is much harder than this game's. Well, I don't know about the actual last level, but it is much harder than anything that I played in this game. But I think I would agree, generally speaking, that this game was, I don't know.
It's
There
got
were
like
some levels in 3D Land that I thought were kind of hard.
I remember that game being like baby easy,
Uh,
but it's been a long time. So,
yeah.
um, but yeah, like I thought like the last like the mushroom mines and like the magma caverns or whatever. I don't
Uh-huh.
remember the names of the level or the worlds, but
It's probably some at least close to that.
yeah, I thought those were like a satisfying level of challenge, but like they weren't really hard.
Right. Yeah, I never like I remember uh the like there was an NPC in the mines level that was like, "Oh, I found this one up. Take it. I'm sure it will help." And they were like, "Here you go." And it was my 67th life. And I was like, "Man, if I lose 66 lives from now till the end of the game, then I will say, yes, that did help out." I don't know why I was being so mean to this random NPC.
What are those called?
But
Poplins? Is that what
yeah,
they're
the
called?
poplins.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the poplins. Well,
Mm-hmm.
maybe we'll talk about the poplins. uh, but yeah, it's just generally speaking, it was an easier game. Which I don't know. It's like I enjoy an easy game every once in a while because
Mm-hmm.
you just get to sit down and kind of like do it. But I do feel like, especially with platformers, like we've all sort of this game is trying to appeal to all audiences, and obviously, like you said, Yoshi's and Nabbits exist for this
Yeah.
purpose.
Oh my.
Oh my. Uh but like I don't know. It in a platformer, a lot of the enjoyment you get from it, or at least me, is overcoming a challenge because the controls are very fluid and easy to do. I think I might be saying the exact same thing that I said on the Anodyne episode.
Uh
Uh,
huh.
I'm having like deja vu about this. The controls are easy to get a handle on, and it's like mastery is the thing that's interesting about it. And this game doesn't really give you a ton of option for that.
Yeah. And then like the special world is like mostly levels built around the Wonder Seed abilities, so you don't get to
Yeah.
like test your platforming prowess as much.
Yeah, that's the other big downside I think with the Wonder Seeds is like they're very cool mid-level because most of the level you're still playing Mario, but when you go to the challenge levels and it's like every one of the levels in the game that is supposed to be difficult is entirely based around not platforming or
Mm-hmm.
platforming in a really specific way. Like uh it's I don't know, I guess it's just like makes you feel like, oh, it'd be cool if I could just do some cool platforming that feels fun and smooth.
Uh huh. Yeah, like, I found like I feel like I agree with that sitting here talking about it right now. But
Yeah.
like while I was playing, I almost kind of wanted the opposite. Where I was like, when I got to those levels, I was like, this is kind of what I thought the whole game would be. Where it's like the whole level is some weird bullshit. I feel like the initial like the reveal trailer really like I feel like set up my expectations. It was just like, whoa, Mario's an elephant and the warp pipe is an inchworm and like it really seemed like it was like, you think you know Mario? Fuck you. Mario Brothers Wonder.
Yeah. I mean, you aren't wrong. That is what the trailer focused on almost entirely. Like within 2 seconds of the trailer starting, Mario was already an elephant and was talking to plants.
Right.
So we're like in a strong sort of like weird emphasized trailer for the game. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I guess that just wasn't my impression going in. But I don't know. I am glad of it.
Yeah. No, yeah, like, I agree, yeah, in when I actually sit down and rationally think about it. It would be nice if in the special world the challenge was built at least a little bit more around platforming.
Yeah. But then the other, like, it's so, the difficulty options in this game are so strange. Because the levels themselves are not, in my opinion, and obviously this is the opinion of somebody who is 30, and I mean, who is canonically 19, and has been playing platformers since, I was like 6 years old or whatever. Like, I was a very small child when I started playing platform games, and I've been playing them for my entire life. But I don't feel like holistically the levels are difficult enough to require much in the terms of like difficulty management. And having the Nabbits and the Yoshis are obviously great for people who are extremely unfamiliar with platformers, physically incapable of playing platformers at a high level, or are small children, like just a child who needs an assistance to get through the game. All of that is fine in there. But then you also have the badges, which have like a level of granularity to how they change the difficulty. And I was so conflicted about these badges at times, because I think some of them are like so extremely cool and things that I desperately want to see in a maker game. Like, I love the jump upward on a wall before doing a kick move.
Yeah, Mega Man X style.
Yeah, the Mega Man wall jump.
Jumping, yeah.
The like boost in midair is something that we kind of already had in terms of like with the propeller helmet.
The grappling,
the fucking grappling vine. Oh, it's so good. And I love that, and I wanted to see things, because like each badge has like 2 levels that are built around them in the form of the badge challenges, and I would have loved to have seen levels that were focused exclusively on using those as your main mode of like moving around.
Yeah, it would have been like an approach they could have taken would have been like to only have like 6 or so, and then like build the levels more around the badges.
Yeah,
but they already had the Wonder Flowers, so maybe had their hands in a few too many jars, I guess, to do that.
But then they had there's like a whole other subset of badges that I think are just difficulty modulation badges, essentially. Like obviously like the sonar or whatever, the radar sensor badge is there for people like me who were like, now I have to get everything in the game so that I can complete it. I'm assuming you never put this badge on.
A couple times.
Okay. I know it does. It triggers around already collected 10 coins, which made me want to jump off a building. Because it's not helpful.
Yeah, like for me, I used it in like one of those find all the medals levels. I couldn't fucking find the last one.
I didn't even know they worked in this.
Yeah, and they also will clue you into like if there's a secret exit to a level. So I used it a couple of times to find stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
And not for purple coins or anything like that.
Right. I had assumed that you would never put it on because you just wouldn't have cared about getting the secret extra thing.
No. I mean, I don't care overall, but like situationally.
Situational caring. That's fair,
situational caring.
Yeah, I generally speaking didn't really like the search party levels. And would have equipped them had I thought about it for even a second. So
yeah, like I think it's the last one, like in the magma area. It had like one, like you had to like dig across the platform like into the wall, and I did not at all peg that like you could go into the wall there.
Yeah.
So I was just running around like, where the fuck is this last one?
We can talk about power-ups, but I do think that the drill is woefully untutorialized. I think that it took me a very long time to like grasp all the things that the drill could do. And it's really not even that many things, but there's just like weird quirks about it. And like looking for seams in a wall was not something that I was prepared to do.
Like I picked up on like the ones that had like the purple like, like turned up dirt. But like the wall in that level didn't have that.
No.
So like you really couldn't see the seam. But yeah, I feel like I agree like the drill power up is like unintuitive in a way. Like it is hard to like grasp all the things that you can do with it. Like I knew that you could like hit stuff like if it fell on your head it would die because you have the drill on your head. But like I didn't really internalize that and like didn't like use it to my advantage, like stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's even kind of difficult to use it to your advantage. Similar to the early badges that we were talking about. Like the levels, with only a few exceptions, aren't really designed with it, or they kind of can't be designed with it in mind because they can't. There's no way for them to force you to always have it.
Right.
If you take a hit, you take a hit. That's just a thing. So yeah, I agree. It's like it feels like there are a few levels that really make the most of the power-ups and the badges, and then some that just like you could have that drill suit on the entire time and it would not make one fucking difference.
Right.
Oh yeah, the rest of the badges in that category though were like the exclamation point badge, which I thought was very cool. At first I was using it all the time because I was like, is there stuff I can't get if I don't have this badge? And it turns out no. It just like makes stuff.
What does that one do?
It like puts exclamation point blocks in places around levels. So like a lot of the time it'll be like if there is a hidden block, it'll put like 2 exclamation point blocks around it so that it highlights where it is. Or like it'll block off one enemy, and so it slightly lessens the challenge of levels. But I stopped using that pretty quickly when I realized that it wasn't necessary for stuff like getting things. And then there's the other set of badges, which are make the game borderline impossible to play badges. And it's really amusing that there's like cool moves, make the game easier in different levels of granularity. And then the nightmare challenge badges where like I want to see some guy on YouTube play through the entire game with the spring foot badge so that he can never stop jumping. But like I'm not going to do that. That's not what I'm here for.
Or like was it like the jet foot badge that makes you run like super fast?
Yep, that one's great.
It would be really hard to play through the whole game with it, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like, sometimes you start out a level with it on, and you just run and jump into a hole immediately, because you just go so fast.
I would do that in the levels that it was designed for.
Yeah.
Like, I would just, like, run and jump way too early and just fall right in a pit within, like, 3 seconds of starting the level. Yeah, it was, those are just fucking crazy. And they're things that I enjoy. I like that they're in the game. I like that there are challenge levels built around it. But it's like, why are my 2 options normal and literally unplayable? Why is there not just like a challenge mode? Or not even a mode, but just like play the game regularly? Like playing it with no badge, or what I ended up using was the coined magnet badge. Is just like to me is like that's the experience of Mario Wonder.
Yeah, I really favored the spin jump boost. That was my favorite and was hard to not use.
Yeah, I like having the twirl. Any of the one like the cat
that's
parachute.
What I mean. Yeah, the twirl like
No.
bounce.
Yeah, the one that does. I like having the one that makes you go up when you hit R.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like the Dixie Kong badge.
Yeah, it's like the Dixie Kong badge. Like I didn't want to use it or the parachute one or any of the other ones that take away your R button because I mean the twirl, like the new soup twirl,
right? Like the regular one.
Yeah, like I'm very like that's hard coded in my brain to use,
Yeah.
and it fucked me up all the time.
I'm the same way. I could not use the parachute one because it took away the twirl. But for me,
Mhm.
like the boosted twirl just felt like twirl plus.
Yeah,
Like,
twirl
yeah,
but better.
yeah. So
And then I had it on when I was doing the final challenge level, and they replaced the ceiling in that level with just a death plane, like it's just goop on the ceiling that kills you if you touch it. And I just forgot what badge I had on, and just like within 10 seconds of the level starting, just jumped, twirled, went straight up into it, and died. It was like, oh, oopsie. So yeah, I don't know. There's just something about it. It's just like I can't imagine using the R button for something else. I don't know why. I feel like there were several threads, but like the end of a Christmas scarf, we're gonna leave him dangling, uh, and we'll sew him back up after the break. Welcome back. There's so many things left to talk about, actually. I have a question. This is only tangentially related to anything that we've already talked about.
All right.
So the perfect thing to start the second half with. What character did you choose to play as?
So I started out playing as Mario for like the first plateau area. And then I played as Daisy for a little bit, just cause. And then I played through the most of the game as Luigi, as I do, cause green is my favorite color.
That's fair.
And then I played Peach for the special world because I hadn't played her yet.
Fair enough. Well, here are my two things I will say. I only played as one character for the entire game. And I tried to pick the character that I felt like the least people would choose.
Did you pick
what
Yellow Toad?
It was Yellow Toad, who saved the Flower Kingdom all by himself.
Nice.
I kept thinking about changing characters, but then I was like, I became very invested in the mythos of the Yellow Toad. Which, as far as I know, is not a toad that like shows up ever.
I think the last couple of no, it's the blue toad that was in
normally
3D
it's blue
World.
toad.
Yeah,
like red toad is toad with a capital T,
right.
and then that you have toadette, which is the pink toad, and then blue toad is sort of like the stand-in male toad. Though I think they confirmed at some point that toads are asexual, or that's not really the word. They don't. I mean, they probably also are ace, but they don't have a sex. They're just toad. So it gets very confusing in that way. So yeah, Yellow Toad to me just seemed like totally out of left field.
Totally.
Totally.
Yeah, dude, I feel like when I was a kid, back in my day,
day.
I always feel like I thought of Toad as his own character, like capital T Toad, as you mentioned. I feel like they've really quashed that in recent years. Like, I feel like it's always like it's just toads. There's a whole bunch of them, and there isn't like one specific main toad.
Right. And like, I mean, you have the Mario movie where like there is a main toad.
Yeah.
That's played by Keegan-Michael Key for some reason. And so like that was like the first. I was like, oh hey, look, it's like Toad. But even in the movie, they still played him up. Yeah, we saw the Mario movie. Don't fucking at me. They played him off as just sort of like a guy, like one member of a billion toads. Whereas like in the Mario Brothers Super Show, Toad was like specifically Toad. I always imagined the Toad in like Mario Kart to be one guy.
Yeah, I feel like he always was the same Toad until, I don't know, the most recent one you can just be any color Toad in Mario Kart 8. So feel like he used to be kind of his own character and then stopped being.
They should make a character that is the Toad from Mario Kart. That's a specific red Toad, and like maybe he like wears a jacket or something, like one of those racing jackets.
I think he might actually be Captain Toad.
But Captain Toad's brown though.
True, but he's got the red, like the regular, like red Toad, like mushroom cap.
No, I think he has like a brown cap. Like he's unique in himself.
I'm pretty sure he's just got the red one, but I'm not.
Right.
I won't like bet money on it.
I'm looking up Captain Toad right now. Fuck. I think I'm thinking of, is it Toadsworth? Is that a guy? Yeah, I'm thinking of Toadsworth.
Toadsworth has the big mustache.
Yep. Yeah, and his is brown. I was thinking of Toadsworth the whole time.
So yeah, that's my theory, is that old capital T Toad became Captain Toad.
It's kind of like a Donkey Kong Jr. is now Donkey Kong kind of situation.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
This has been Game Theory.
Well, yeah, now that we've definitively proved that theory.
Since we were talking about what characters you played, I assume you didn't play with any of the online features.
No, did not even touch them one time.
I did while I was capturing footage, just because that was a thing that made me think about it. So, I mean, I'm not one to usually care for such things, and this was no different. I don't know. It feels like you can see the ghosts of other people like playing, and then they can save you if you die. So like, you can actually like see other people playing the level with you in real time, which is kind of cool. It's another comparison to like to Mario Brothers like 99. Like maybe they took some influence from that. So I thought that was kind of cool, and you can set up a specific room to play with your friends online, which I could see myself doing.
Right.
But I don't know. You can put they have those little I forget what they're called, standees. Yeah, and like you can drop those next to like a hard section of the level, and people can use those to revive if they float their little ghosts back to it and they hit it. It brings them back. So yeah, I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool that it was in there, but not something that like I personally seek out.
Yeah, I just fully did not know about any of that at all. Yeah. I probably would have given a few tries to it prior to coming in here, but when I saw the online feature, I assumed that it was for playing with friends specifically, and so I never touched it because I was like, I'm playing at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
None of my friends are online right now.
Yeah, you also get like heart points if you do certain things. Like if you help people, and if you finish the level at the same time as them, you get like yeah. So that's kind of fun.
Yellow Toad was heartless for the whole game. I remember seeing that meter and not knowing what it was.
Yeah, that's
that counter.
The online.
Crazy. I'll jump online at some point in the future. Maybe when I'm going to actually collect all the flagpoles and shit.
Right. That would make it more fun to do.
Agreed, yeah. Because there'd be a little bit of interaction going on.
Mm-hmm.
Were you at all disappointed that the different characters didn't have like Mario 2 different play styles at all?
Not really. Because I feel like for me anyway, that pushes me towards just playing one character. Where if they're all the same, it encourages me to switch it up, I guess. I don't know. Because I know like 3D World had those differences.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't find them like particularly like, I don't know, like they don't really do anything for me personally.
It would necessitate the level design to be a little bit more mushy.
Yeah.
Because like something that Mario struggles to do is easy for Luigi and vice versa, that kind of a thing. So I support the idea. I'm the exact opposite though. If the characters are different, I'm going to want to try all of them. and play around with them a bit. Whereas if they're all the same, I don't care and we'll just play Yellow Toad for the whole game. uh, uh, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's because the last like 3D World is not a 2D Mario game.
No.
But like it's pretty close to a 2D Mario game, at least in comparison to like the actual like 3D collectathon games.
Yeah. It's leaning harder towards the 2D side than the 3D side,
Right.
despite being called 3D World.
Correct, yeah. And so I did have like a moment of being like, oh, it would have been cool, like if they brought that thing back and actually gave some thought into like what my character would be, and then it like came up with a thing. It's just like these characters are the same. These ones are easier. They're the easy characters.
Yeah.
Which kind of bums me out because I would have played as a Yoshi if it wasn't a baby character.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like the badges though, like I feel like you'd have to like either do one or the other, like characters that have like different skills, or you have like a baseline that you put the badges on top of.
Right. I think that's fair. I don't think it was a bad idea, but it was, to me it just seemed like a wild decision to have so many playable characters.
Yeah, I was
when
surprised.
I first saw it.
Yeah, all the Yoshis there. Like, I'm surprised that they are like baby mode. Okay, so it's weird that like it feels like 50% of the characters might as well just be grayed out.
Yeah. Like, do you want to enable these?
Mm-hmm.
I want to say I do really like. We kind of already talked about this, but like I do really like the way that the assist mode is chosen by character. I mean, this goes all the way back to funky mode, where the character is how you decide like what your like difficulty is. But I do like that this game can just have a million fucking characters in it, and some of them are easy and some of them are not, and it's fine. Like, it's just whatever. Like, you're not gonna, in looking at a screenshot of the game, you're not gonna be like, look at this guy with his fucking diapers on. You're just gonna see like fun Mario characters.
Yeah, it's definitely a better solution than the like the golden Tanuki leaf or whatever that shows up if you die a bunch of times and it's like, hey, idiot, you suck.
Yeah, because it's like a choice that you make.
Yeah.
It's not just a box that shows up to patronize you. But I am a noted hater of the Tanuki leaf.
Right. So I guess we talked a little bit about power-ups, but like, what do you think of the new ones?
I have yet to run into a Mario power-up I don't like. I think they have a way of elegantly designing these things. And I think they're all very cool. Actually, I mentioned the Cloud Mario power-up in the last half.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one's like one of my least favorites because it always felt really awkward to use.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in this game, all of them are pretty great. I agree that we talked a bit about how the drill power up feels like it throws a lot at you without really training you on it. But with the exception of like that minor hiccup, I think once I got used to all of them, I thought they were all really cool.
Yeah, I liked them all as well. Like I thought the bubble power up ended up being way better than I thought it was at first. Like I didn't use it a ton until like the second half of the game. But yeah, I thought that one was pretty great. I like how it spits out 2 bubbles if you spin.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought the elephant power up was a weird one because like it's like the one that they revealed in the trailer. I feel like it's kind of like the like mascot one for the game. It's that one where Mario turns into an elephant. It felt like it was probably like the worst of the new ones to me. Like I don't know, it just felt like it didn't distinguish itself enough for being like the thing that they advertised for the game. Like I guess it interacts with the flowers by spraying water on them, but like that's the only thing that really like ties it in to like the identity of the game, I guess.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I will say that the water ability of it is feels kind of undercooked to me. Like I feel like there's probably more they could have done with that, but
Mm-hmm.
because it made me feel like whenever I had it, if I found water and actually got to use the water part of it, that it had to be there like for some reason. And so I would have to like keep the run button held down because I didn't want to accidentally waste the water. So I'd be like running around with a trunk full of water looking for something to do with it and then not really finding anything relevant. Um, which obviously is fine. That's just me being weirdly neurotic about it. The elephant power up is the least. It is. It was the one I was the most whelmed by, where I got it and thought this is just okay.
Yeah.
It makes you really, really, really big, which means it's a very fragile power up.
Yeah. It's easier to get hit.
Yeah,
But
so
also
it
like,
is. Yeah,
it has some benefits too, though. Like you can like, I know like one thing they pointed out. Like I went back and like watched like a trailer that I had not seen, and like you can like run across larger gaps. Like usually, if there's like one block gap, like if you run, you can just like, run across them. You can go across 2 block wide gaps if you're the elephant. So like
wow.
it does affect like your hitbox in positive ways as well.
That's true. And you do push boxes faster, which is pretty cool.
I thought it was really funny though, like when you do like the classic like run and like jump, like like Mario would do in like the Tanuki suit, like as the elephant is just like very funny to me.
Oh yeah, it's extremely good. I also love the design of the toad elephant is really funny as well. And
Yeah,
sort of like calls back to like the Indian like artistic interpretation of an elephant as well because of
yeah,
its like costume and shit.
yeah. Like I also like Elephant Daisy and Elephant Peach are also pretty funny.
Okay, yeah. I've not seen them as far as I know. Uh but yeah, I will say that the trunk attack, like its regular like attack move, is very strong for
Yeah,
what it's
yeah.
worth.
Any power ups that give you an attack are good, which is why the
Yeah.
fire flower is a mainstay.
Yeah. The
Like,
fire flower is too classic to be
yeah,
removed.
I don't know if it's like would lead to any interesting conversation, but like, can you imagine a Mario game without the fire flower? Like, I feel like that's the Mario power up. Like, I feel it's been in every single game, and it's
I'm
really hard
trying
to
to think
imagine
of
one
one.
without
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Did Mario Land have the fire flower? Was it replaced with the Super Ball, or are they the same thing? I don't
I
know.
never played Mario Land 1.
Yeah.
But
Well,
Mario Land
next
2
time on
had
No
it.
Clip Pocket.
Yeah, Mario Land 2 did have it though.
Yeah, Mario Land 2,
I
and he had like a weird feather in his cap.
Yep.
It's a weird choice,
That's
design
they
wise.
couldn't signify that you had it with color. So they had to give you another visual indicator.
Right. That is true. Also, I didn't think about it. uh, I mean, and also that is a strength I think of the elephant power up is just artistically speaking, it just looks very good.
Mhm.
I love the animation of it crawling and like doing crouch jumps like on
Yeah.
all fours.
Whenever you
It's
try
just
to
very
go
good.
down into a pipe, well, that animation's good in and of itself, but like I like it when you try to go into a pipe and it isn't one that you can go down, and he just like smushed against the pipe.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love that they included things like that. Like the further we get in time
Mm-hmm.
and technology improves, the more that a 2D ass Mario game that hasn't really changed mechanically that much since 1987 is going to have so many little details that it's going to be completely visually indecipherable. And it's crazy.
Yeah, I like just the touch that going through the warp pipes. Oh, I don't know if you would have seen this because you played as Toad, but when Mario and Luigi go into the pipes, their hat stays behind them, and then their hand comes out and grabs it and pulls it in.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's very good.
Yeah, it's very good.
Speed run real fast. We talked about the drill power up, talked about the elephant power up. The bubble power up, you can jump on the bubbles.
Yes, you can
That's
also use it for
insane.
platforming. Yeah,
Yeah, that oof.
that multi-purpose design. That's how you know it's good.
Yeah, it's extremely cool. And it actually means that if you have access to that power up, you could design a level where you're intended to have like the grappling vine or some other like traversal badge, and you could use those instead,
Yep, that's
which is
some
great.
Mario Maker shit right there.
Yeah. This game has made me very excited for Mario Maker 3, a game that we don't know is even being made at all.
Yeah,
Uh
it'll
and most
probably
likely,
happen eventually.
I imagine at the next console release is when
Hmm.
that'll come out. Um
But while we were
yeah.
talking about animations, you just want to talk about the visual, the
You
aesthetics of the
knew.
game.
Yes, I do.
uh, yeah, like it's one thing I noticed in that initial reveal trailer is that it has kind of like there's like a very like on the base level, like the style that everything is like rendered in has kind of like a texture to it that I can't really put my finger on. Like it almost looks a little painterly. It almost looks a little bit like tactile, like it was kind of like molded out of clay or something.
Hmm.
But like it has its like this really nice art direction to it. On top of all the other stuff, like I like the color palettes are really nice. They incorporate lots of like pinks and blues and purples and stuff. So yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, it's an extremely vibrant game and one that gives big like toy box vibes, if that means anything.
Yeah, but
Like,
like not in the way that like 3D World does, where everything
right.
like looks like toys.
Fair point. True, because this is like the idea behind this game is sort of like a psychedelic sort of thing,
Hmm.
uh, which is sort of like the colors are in this game like take more of a the point of them is to be varied and multicolored and all over the place.
Hmm.
So there are more rainbows in this game than in most Mario games that don't feature Rainbow Road. Uh and like just stuff like that. It is a very bright game, but not like it doesn't feel messy. That's the thing that I was most surprised about.
Hmm.
Like it seemed like it would be visually very cluttered or homogenized, like just a haze of color. But they actually keep it very like this is I talked literally like 2 weeks ago about how my fucking bad eyesight made Tunic kind of hard to look at, even though I think the game looks fucking beautiful and its
Hmm.
art direction is incredible. This game looks incredible, has all of these bright, vibrant colors, but I was able to pick apart every little detail. I never had an issue with this game in terms of seeing what was foreground and background, uh, and hitting things like that. Like there is some merit at least to big AAA game development, and sometimes it's that it just pops, and this game does.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Nintendo, like especially with Mario, like accomplished that by like everything is like very like always you can almost think about it like Mario Maker. Like the stuff you can walk on is like very clearly like a blocky platform kind of thing. So yeah, it's always really easy to like keep it straight. Like I think what the thing, at least for me, um so your mileage may vary because my eyes are not as bad. But
They're not shriveled grapes in your
yeah.
skull.
Um but it's like stuff like foliage and like particle effects, like, and like this game doesn't really have that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like, it's like nice background art, but there isn't like shit in the foreground and like a bunch of like, sparkles and all kinds. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that gets in the way visually, I think.
Yeah. And also like unless it is intended, right? Like
Yeah.
one of one of the other places that this game draws some inspiration from, aka Steels, is from from the Donkey Kong Country Returns games. This game you can go into the background and foreground in certain spots, and also Twilight levels where you're in silhouette, which is another thing that was in those games as well. So you can see they do try and play with the visuals. So even there's even like kind of a bit of a troll in one of the levels. I forget which one exactly, where there's like a pipe that's in the foreground that looks like a wall, but like if you just run by it, you can just go right past it. Like it's used in a way that's just sort of like it is there to obscure, but like you can tell like it looks different than the other pipes. So
Is that the level where like there's a secret exit to it, and like that pipe clues you into the fact that you can like take a pipe into the foreground?
yeah, then run past the goal.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it's crazy shit.
Yeah,
I liked it a lot.
Clever stuff. Yeah.
One of the aesthetic decisions they made that I didn't like was that every time you jump, it sounds like someone in a cartoon pulling a hair out with tweezers.
I can't say that I noticed.
What? No.
I feel like
There's
it just
no
sounded.
way you didn't notice.
I feel like it just sounded the way Mario always sounds when he jumps.
Nah, dude. Mario has like it's like a boing sound, right? But it's like been bit crunched because it was on the NES, and they've just sort of evolved that boing sound for years and years. This is distinctly higher pitched. I think it is just like the highest note on a violin being plucked.
I feel like it sounded exactly that way for the last like several Mario games.
I want the detectives on this one. I'm the detective in this case. I'm going to play
Detective Pikachu on this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna get I'll get Danny DeVito to voice Detective Pikachu in the No Clip Podcast universe, and he's going to pull a clip of Mario jumping from an old game, and then Mario jumping in Mario Wonder, and you decide. Epic rap battles of history. Making a lot of references to old internet garbage today. Otherwise, though, I really like the sound design in this game. I think everything has like a very lively and appropriate sound effect. Like they obviously went more cartoony in this one than they have in the past, and I think it works really well with the rest of the aesthetic. But that jump sound is the only thing that really springs to mind as like a specific thing I wanted to call out.
Yeah. What do you think of the flowers?
The poplins?
No, like the actual, it's like the little flowers in the level that will like say things to you.
I did have a question that I should have just looked up and didn't. Are they Tip from Ring Fit Adventure?
Oh, the voice?
Yeah.
That was totally possible. I can't say that I pegged that, but
I mean, I'll let you know in a minute, but
okay.
Did you have thoughts on the flowers? Because I generally they have that problem for me that certain like when you have to repeat a cutscene in a video game has, where if you're on like a hard level, it gets very patronizing to hear the flower be like, I believe in you. And I'm like, fuck, dude. Like I've been at this for a while, but this game is so rarely hard that it's not like it comes up very often.
Yeah, I bring it up because like I watch a couple of reviews as I do before we do the episodes, and like I feel like people like either complained about them or said that they were like that was like something when they saw the trailer like they were worried about in the game, like they were gonna be like fucking Navi or something and like give hints to everything. And I was just like, I actually really liked them. I agree, like it's annoying if there's a level like you're stuck on or something and you have to hear the same quip a million times. But I think like for the most part, I think they're like a really like perfect way to add a little bit of voice acting and to add like just some more personality into a Mario game. And I felt like they were like cute enough, and like some of them were kind of clever, and some of them were actually funny. Like I don't know, I think it really landed for me. Uh, but I don't know, I might be in the minority.
No, like I said, I don't dislike them. I think they're actually very. There are actually some of them that made me laugh when I read their text bubbles.
hmm
That's pretty rare by itself. And I agree. I think that like having a little bit this game is supposed to be a little bit more not necessarily like off-putting, but like it's supposed to push more boundaries of how Mario games are than other games in the franchise. So I think having them in there is like it's a little bit weird, and I liked that they included them.
hmm
But yeah, I mean, I guess if you don't like them, there is an option to make them not talk,
Yeah. Uh,
which is weird. But yeah,
but yeah, so you mentioned the poplins, which are basically just toads, but instead of mushrooms, they're flowers. And it's just something I thought that was like kind of fun. It's like it's a very simple idea, but I like that like this is the flower kingdom, which is like close to the mushroom kingdom, and it has it's all themed around flowers instead of mushrooms. I thought that worked like surprisingly well. Like I'm surprised we don't see that sort of thing more often in Mario games, where like you go to like a different kingdom, and you can see how it like fits in to like the established kind of like Mario aesthetics and like world, and you can introduce more enemies and just theme things a little differently. I thought that was like fun.
yeah. I mean, this is like what I talked about with Mario Sunshine as right. Like it is. I like that it is a different place that has its own thing, and that it's all sort of consistent within that. It's still a Mario game, so we still have the fire world and the poison world and whatever. But like, I think generally speaking, it did a great job of at least setting your expectations to be in a different place.
Yeah.
And I do like the poplins, generally speaking, though they are not as good as Piantas.
I mean, nothing is.
That's true. It is literally impossible to be better than a Pianta. I did think that when they showed up and they were like, "Oh, these are the poplins," I was like, I guess the only other name they could have chosen was Tasticles. Uh,
Take advantage of the money saving 12 pack.
yeah. I know. We'll call them poplins. So yeah, that's yeah. Aesthetically speaking, it's weird to spend so little time on it, in a way, because I feel like that's like one of the main things the game was marketed on.
hmm
Like it's not. They're not like join Mario on another 2D platforming adventure with like tight jumps and shit. They were like, look at Mario, he's an elephant. Pick up this seed. The whole fucking thing transforms and everybody flies around now. But I don't know, it just worked. Like it's all very clean. It's an elegant design and it's not complicated, really.
Yeah, yeah. Like I know like Nintendo seems to be very like cautious of doing anything too different with Mario. So it just felt like kind of like the ideal way to like mix things up without making them like too different.
Right. Yeah, we never want to see Mario go the way of Mickey Mouse. And where they just won't use him.
Oh, okay. I was
It's
like, I don't know what
like,
that means.
yeah. That where they just like don't use him in anything at all risky. It's just
Yeah.
here he is. He's the mascot guy. Though I guess they put out Mario in like fucking tennis shorts as an annual release at this point. So like that's obviously never gonna happen.
But yeah, there are actually some new enemies in this game,
That's also
which
true.
is unusual for Mario. I thought they were all actually pretty cool. I really like the enemies that like jump when you do. That's like they're called Hoppy Cats.
Hoppy Cats, that's it,
I
yeah.
remember because I thought that was a funny name.
That's a good name.
But yeah, like that's like it throws a surprising wrench into uh your gameplay. I think to have to like like think about that while you're playing.
Yeah. It's one of the things that I feel like I've seen it before, but I really
Hmm.
like its implementation here. Um, the level that introduces them, I think, is one of my favorite levels in the game because it does make you. It is just like a different kind of platforming to do, but then I loved the Wonder Seed section where they have the giant ones and you have to use them to clear paths.
Mm.
Uh, to me, that's a great example of one that I wish had been expanded on. Like, just give it one more level with it because it's just really cool. Like, it's an interesting thing. Uh, you couldn't just like make it so that you could go too far and fuck up and lose, but so the way that it's implemented, I think is fine. But I don't know, it's just very cool. I like those enemies. I like the birds that shoot arrows that unfurl into bridges.
Yeah, the
That's a
straws.
cool idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the ones that like that the enemies that just eat everything.
Oh
They're
yeah.
like weird little like mud puppy things with the giant mouths.
Guzzlords.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what they're called, but yeah, they were in the first level with the stealth Goomba section.
Right, right. Which I thought was actually pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it definitely took me off guard.
Yeah, like having to like play as the Goomba and to just avoid getting eaten by those, I thought was really interesting. I was not expecting that.
Yeah. I was surprised that just going behind the bush
Oh
was all
yeah.
it wanted me to do. It was surprising. Uh do you remember that time that there was a a Wonder Seed section that just made you take a quiz?
Oh yeah.
That's pretty weird.
Yeah. I liked it though. I wanted
Yeah,
more. I
no,
wanted more weird shit.
yeah. Yeah,
It,
either
it incorporated
develop
like the pulling down on like those like vine enemies to like answer the
right,
questions. Yeah.
which are also new. Uh those were really fun.
Hmm.
I feel like there's no way in hell those make it into a Mario Maker game, but if they do, I'd be really pumped about it. They seem really cool. Uh, there are a few levels that use those. They are a fully explored mechanic, as far as I'm concerned. I thought they did a great job with them.
Hmm.
Uh,
I don't. They let you use like swinging cranes and bullshit in Mario Maker. I don't see why you can't use these enemies.
I guess that's a good point. That they wouldn't be able to do it in the Wonder would just have to be its own like style.
Yeah.
Yeah. But very cool though. I do like a lot of the enemies because like in this case, a lot of the enemies were custom designed like for the levels that they exist in. So, you know, are they so much enemies as they are obstacles? Yes, they are enemies and they have names and it's very cool.
Yeah. It's like it introduced like a handful that like I really want to see come back in future games.
Same. We talked a bit about the difficulty of the game
Hmm.
and the fact that it was generally speaking like a little bit less challenging than we may have wanted it to be. I 100% would forgive all of that, except why is Bowser
Mm.
so easy?
Yeah, I agree. Like, I feel like the final level was actually really cool. I like the
Yeah.
part where like King Boo chased you. He just makes his
Uh-huh.
cameo. um, I thought that was all really awesome. But like, yeah, like I thought that the fact that it was like music themed and he's like a DJ, like some
Mhm.
Octavio vibes. I thought that was all really cool. But yeah, like it felt it was a bit too easy, and it also just kind of felt like it lacked like build up or something. Like I don't. I remember like I felt like 3D World had a really great final Bowser encounter.
Mhm.
And like I don't know, maybe I just like my expectations were too high. But
Very
like it just felt
possibly.
really simple.
Yeah. It's like the Mario series has been doing boss fights for a billion years with more like some good results, some bad results. And unfortunately, I feel like Wonder is just one of those games where the boss fights are just sort of like a perfunctory end to whatever like palace level you're on.
Yeah, I actually thought like the Bowser Jr. ones were pretty solid. Like it's boring that it's always Bowser Jr. and not something different. But
Yeah.
like I thought they were all like actually pretty solid, and each like different like variation was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, but still, like it's just like fine. And like, but I think like one thing I kept expecting like. I keep making comparisons to 3D World, but that's like the most recent Mario game I played. That's kind of
Yeah.
like this. But like you had like what like the Bowser's Castle world or whatever, like the lava world, and then you get to the end of it and it's like psych. That's not actually the final world. Go to the fucking carnival world. Now that's the final one. Like it felt like it like missed that kind of thing. Like that part where like Bowser like surprises or one ups you, and like you thought you beat him, but haha, he's actually got this up his sleeve.
It was all a ruse the whole
Yeah, it
time.
felt like it lacked that kind of moment or something.
Yeah, I think I mostly agree. This is I liked the fact that this game begins its final level by having Bowser himself introduce the catch of each level. It's like, oh, this one's got heat-seeking bullet bills, and oh, this one's got long bullet bills that you can ride on. And like and this one's the punch one, and all of those. And like, I loved that element of it, but the fact that it just sort of like then ended, like it had in total it's 4 levels, and and the boss level is like half a really cool level and then half like a comically easy boss fight. And it does, like, I think I agree with you what you said about Bowser Jr. It is boring that it's Bowser Jr. every time in a square room, but they do a really good job of like mixing it up and like having there be a catch to all of them. So
Mm-hmm.
even if it was never like particularly inspired, it still felt new and fresh. Bowser is just Bowser's like weird rhythm thing. Like
Yeah, but
they
it was fun. Like
it
it's
was,
like
yeah, no, I didn't have a bad
satisfying to
time.
like bounce and hit the weak spots and stuff. But yeah, like it felt like it needed like an extra wrinkle.
Yeah, something else needed to be there. This is well, I guess we're kind of at the end of the podcast, so this is the
Mm-hmm.
appropriate time to talk about it. Uh Speaking of Bowser requiring you to jump in time with the music, Mario's music, a
Mm.
famous thing done in this game. Presumably, I don't know, like a lot of this stuff is just sort of like from scratch new music.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know who does the Mario music now. I
yeah,
don't think Koji Kondo's been doing it for a long time.
yeah, I mean, I could probably find this out. Well, it's saying that Koji Kondo is still in the list, but I'm assuming they're just crediting him because they use Koji Kondo's melodies for a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
But yeah, we have. Don't make me pronounce these names. Google Mario Wonder
yeah,
composers and take a look.
an assorted variety of composers.
Yeah, there are 3 people that are credited, one of whom is Koji Kondo, and then there are 2 other people whose names I'm not familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
But it is just like the music in this game I think largely worked for me. But I think the parts in the levels that actually care about the music, like the ones with rhythm elements, and the ones like the march where all the piranha plants are running
Yeah,
around, I thought those were particularly standout. Like I thought that those really killed it for me because it's something that makes you pay attention. I love that it pops up the little name of the song in the bottom corner,
mm-hmm.
to be like, this is the part where we're gonna focus on this. And there's like several moments where it does that, in several different like styles of music. So I thought it was all very good.
Yeah, full agree. I think music levels, like I don't know the first game to ever do a music level, but they had them in like Rayman Legends as well. And those were also like a highlight of that game. So, yeah, I thought the music levels were really cool in this one as well. And yeah, I feel like the music like was all good, but like it's hard to remember it, or like I feel like one playthrough you don't really get to appreciate it. Like it doesn't stand out quite in the same way as like older Mario music. But I feel like it's one of those soundtracks that like if I listen to it like just for fun or like I replayed the game, I would have a better, more of an appreciation for it. Like I would notice it more on a
Yeah,
second playthrough.
yeah, that is probably true. The one song that keeps coming into mind for me is probably the only song in the game that I don't really like. And it's the one of the there's like 3 or 4 tracks that play like by default when you start like a Wonder Seed section, a Wonder Flower, whatever.
Hmm.
Uh and one of them is a song that just evokes Lazy Town to me, like the children's television show.
Yeah, yeah, I
That's just like.
remember.
You got anything else? Any quick hits? Any?
The only quick hit I had is like they had levels with goo, and that felt like a throwback to Super Mario Land 2 because it had like the sections where you swam through the goo and it had like the little like cow fish if you remember those that swam around in it. No cowfish in this, but we did have
Sad.
cool goo swimming sections, which I was a big fan of.
That is true. I did like the goo sections. I kept waiting for the Gooigi origin story, but
Oh yeah.
none has yet to come. Also, Waguigi still is not a thing.
Mhm.
I'm like 0 for 5 on predicting Nintendo's future. But we'll
If
get there.
if Waluigi was ever incorporated into Luigi's Mansion, we
Then
would get
Waguigi.
yeah, we would get a Waluigi. Also, Nintendo, if you're ever listening to this, which you won't ever do,
Uh-huh.
uh, set Luigi's Mansion 4 in a castle, please.
Oh, yeah. Also, Nintendo, if you're listening to this, please buy the splattershot.pro domain off of me.
For $18 million.
Yeah, either for a whole lot of money or just like a small amount of money so I can just keep the check. Anyway, do we have Fire Flower Thoughts?
Flower thoughts, the easiest one in a while.
It's true,
Um,
yeah.
So, I don't know. My thoughts are kind of like I feel like I haven't fully digested the game yet. I think as we were trying to like get at it on the first half, like it's hard to know like where this ranks among other Marios. It's definitely doing some weirder and more of its own kind of things, but then on the other hand, it also feels like it's kind of like taking bits and pieces from more recent Marios, like Mario Maker, 3D World, even fucking Mario 99. Um, and yeah, so it's kind of hard to like know exactly how I feel about it, but I did overall enjoy the game, but I felt like it didn't quite live up to what I thought it was gonna be. I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill. I try not to judge a game for like what it isn't when I can. But so yeah, I just kind of expected it to be a little weirder or a little bit more off the wall based on that initial trailer. So and it was more like a regular Mario game in its structure than I expected. But you know, that's not a bad thing. So yeah, it's a Mario game, which means it's better than most games. So overall I liked it, but I don't know. It feel kind of weird saying it, but it feels kind of like nothing to write home about to me. But I think it feels like the kind of thing like I was just saying with the music. Like I think I'll come to appreciate it more over time. And it's something that like I probably will get the urge to replay in like a couple years. And hopefully I'll have the time to do that so I can grow more appreciation for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Feel kind of like weird and mixed on it. Yeah, I feel like it's not one of those where I'm not fully digested yet. So
Yeah. I do have like a spot that I want to put it in terms of like my Mario canon. But you bring up a very important distinction to make. Like technically, I could have finished this game a couple of days ago, but I literally just stopped playing it last night, and it was only because I wanted to get through all the special stages before coming in for the podcast. And that desire wasn't necessarily spurred by me wanting to have a more complete discussion or something. Like, the few special stages that I would have played or that I wouldn't have played would not have made that big of a difference on my overall impression on the game. But it was because I really wanted to. I found this game to be really fun. I think that its biggest problem is that it is just a bit too easy. Um, what I had in my head was, I think that this is the best 2D Mario game since Super Mario World on the SNES. I think that it surpasses everything else ahead of it, and I'm not counting Yoshi's Island. Sue me. That game, I think, is better than this one, but it also plays very differently than a traditional Mario platformer. Um, so there's to me, I had a really good time playing this game, and whenever I sat down to play it, I wanted to keep playing it for a long period of time. But when I don't go back to games very often, but Mario World, and you know this despite having not played it, anytime that Mario World is available on something, I just go and play Mario World again.
Yeah,
I
you'll
played
at
it
least start it. Yeah.
Yeah. I played it when it was put on the Switch and when it was on the 3DS. I have the SNES Mini Classic thing. I've played Mario World on that. One time I played it at a house party that somebody was throwing. I was like, I just got to get some Mario World in, you know? And I'm not very good at Mario World because I play it once every few years and I don't always finish it. And I think part of what makes me continue to like it is because that game it makes me feel like I'm trying to beat it. Like, it's hard to do. And this game really doesn't quite get there. So in terms of flow state, this just never quite pushed me as much as I wanted it to. Even if it is just easier generally, I'd be fine with it if there were a few places that made me struggle. But that all being said, I still think the game's really good. I think the game looks incredible. I think the game sounds really good. I think that the level design is interesting because I feel like it is borrowing from things, but in a very good way. It's a way that feels like it's evolving with the times. And to me, that all sort of culminates into a game that I would write home about. Specifically if I had a younger sibling or a cousin or something. And I would look, man, this is what 2D platforming is at its best right now. As far as things that have come out recently, I haven't had more fun with a 2D platformer since Celeste. So it's been a while for me. So I liked it. Thought it was good. Thank you for listening to No Clip this week.
What are we talking about next time?
Next time, I just remembered what we're talking about next time. It's very funny. We're doing our Christmas special episode on the PlayStation 2 game Trapped, Trapt. This is a game that showed up. I'd heard about this game at some point in my past, and then it faded from memory completely. And then we were looking for potential holiday themed games to round out the year, and I thought what a cool idea it would be to do a Home Alone game. And I discovered Trapped, or rediscovered Trapped, a game where you build traps for enemies to walk into in a vaguely not particularly Home Alone style. But I am excited to give it a go. So join us then.
We should have just played Home Alone for the Game Boy or whatever.
we could have done that. It would have probably been less enjoyable.
And by do that, I mean not do that.
But what we should do, and by we I mean the listeners, is if you want to get a hold of us, all of our contact information is on our website at noclippodcast.com or on splattershot.pro. unless Nintendo has purchased it from me at the time that you're listening to it. There you can find links to our email address, our Twitter account, our Discord server where you can suggest games for us to play. Maybe you could have found a much better holiday game than Trapped on the PlayStation 2. And you can listen to all of our old episodes there and on our YouTube channel, including episodes that we did on Super Mario 3D Land. I lied. Super Mario 3D World. Super Mario Odyssey. Yeah. All the
Mario
Marios.
64, Super Mario Sunshine,
Luigi's Mansion 3.
Tropical Freeze.
Yeah, Tropical Freeze. Other games with drug paraphernalia in them.
Disco Elysium.
RimWorld. Disco Elysium, yep. You know, listen to games that we talked about like Mario Wonder, like Disco Elysium.
Yeah, and RimWorld.
Fucking elephant that like button.
Shoot a bubble into the comment section. I don't fucking know.
I got it.
Okay.
Subscribe so that you can wear your subscription badge, which allows you to write with priority in the comment section.
There you go.
There it is. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-da.
What is this, fucking Mario?
Fucking Mario. Like
Wasn't
that
it
song?
called like The Crazy World of Richard Scarry or something? Wasn't that the actual name of that show?
That sounds really familiar.
And like the setting of it was no, that was Safety Town. Yeah, Lazy Town is that weird live action show.
Yeah, with the weird number one. And that guy.
I'm thinking of this animated show from the 90s.
Yeah, you were thinking of The Crazy World of Richard Scarry.
Swish, I got that right. It had that worm in like the big apple car. Yeah.
Yep, that's the one.
Yep. There's one thing that Andy Kinnick is good at. It's membering the 90s.
That's true. Something that I can't do because obviously I was always born 19 years ago today.